I know you're doing some fantastic work and you've been acknowledged by ACAP as well.
How important coaching is as a skill for leaders, and that's been recognised more and more.
So as I say that, I'm wondering what's coming up for you. I'm noticing you.
The thinking about or perception about what coaching is inaccurate.
And the people that joined the call were all were under the assumption that coaching is like mentoring.
He said to me, Mark, if my wife ever met you on the street, she would give you a huge hug.
Beautifully said, Mark. And it is just that wonderful win, 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 win.
Oh, and you mentioned the word purpose.
It's very energizing. And of course, it's the purpose and the values aligning with both of those.
The great thing about coaching, where coaching is right, obviously, coaching's not right for everyone.
Hello listeners, we are your co-hosts Janine Bailey and Marie Quigley for the Empower World Coaching and Leadership Podcast.
Empower World brings guests who are making a difference to the world to inspire coaches and leaders who lead with mind, heart and soul.
Hello and welcome listeners to the next episode of the Empower World Coaching and Leadership Podcast. And today I'm here with a wonderful special guest, not with Marie this time, who is having a lovely holiday somewhere out there in the world. But I'm joined by a very special guest, Mark Setch, who I have got to know through some volunteer work with the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. That was quite a few years ago, Mark, and also through work that I've been doing here in Australia with ACAP. And Mark, I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself and maybe explain what ACAP is, but lovely to have you here. A big welcome.
Thanks, Janine, and great to connect in this way and be part of the Empower World community for this short time. So as Janine said, we met through the coaching space. I'm a leadership and personal development coach and been working in that space for about 13 years now, but I'm also a coach and leadership educator with the Australian College of Applied Professions, ACAP, and I am the course leader for the MBA, our MBA, Master of Business Administration, and also a graduate certificate of applied coaching where Janine and I connect as well. So I love the coaching space and I love the leadership space, and I guess out of my coaching, I had a growing heart for coaching education because I love the coaching space so much, to really see more high quality coaches emerge. And so that's how I ended up in the education, leadership and coaching education space as well. So I still reserve some bandwidth for coaching because I love it so much. Plus I also believe that those that teach also do. So I will always reserve some bandwidth for coaching and mentoring of leaders.
Fantastic, Mark. And again, a big welcome. And lots of long titles there for you to remember. And I know you're doing some fantastic work and you've been acknowledged by ACAP as well. And it's just, a real pleasure to be able to work with you in the small way that I do. So, and hence I wanted to bring you onto our podcast because, I've heard you speak a number of occasions, and I really appreciate how you also appreciate that coaching and leadership go together hand in hand. And you were sharing with me earlier how, which we both know, coaching is such an important skill or skill set to have for leaders in organizations or communities or wherever they may be, even in the family home. So, Mark, what's your first, if someone asked you, why is coaching important for leaders, what would you say?
It's a great question, Janine, and I will answer it, but first affirming what you're saying, how important coaching is as a skill for leaders, and that's been recognised more and more. It's interesting, isn't it, to see in our courses that not everyone who signs up for our course necessarily wants to begin a coaching practice. Many do, but many are leaders who want to expand their leadership with the coaching skill set. So it really is important. And to back to your question, why coaching is important for leaders is, I guess the simplest way I would put it is when I receive coaching, because as I coach, I still believe in it and I do, it really does expand my awareness. What I love about coaching and great coaches is they ask people questions they're not asking themselves, taking people beyond the boundaries of their conscious thinking and awareness. And so many leaders, with the pressures that leaders face these days, often find themselves in overwhelm and stuck within the confines of their own thinking, whereas within them there's gold waiting to be mined, there's great skill and capacity, but it's buried in the non-conscious realm. It's because their conscious realm is filled with the noise. We were just talking before this about how much noise there is these days, emails, texts, Teams, and we often lose our capacity to really dig deep. Taking time out to have conversations with high-quality coaches, it has this beautiful ability to expand our awareness of the resources that we already have. It also brings to our conscious awareness faulty thinking, beliefs that are not serving us and are limiting our capacity. And of course, as we know, great coaches then can support us to really create a new narrative that will serve us, undergirded by more resourceful beliefs and thinking that will serve us. Because one of the many things that contemporary neuroscience has taught us is we have more capacity than we realize to change our thinking and our thought patterns. And when we do that, our state, our emotions, and our behavior aligns with that, as does our productivity and effectiveness, professionally and personally. So that's a long answer to a short question, Janine, but that's really why coaching can really be so supportive of leadership in the challenges that we face as leaders these days, to take time out to think and reflect and have someone outside of our orbit challenging us to dig deep, to find the resources and create new awareness of the resources within us. That's what I love about the coaching space. That's why I think it's really critical for leaders to engage a coach.
And of course, everything that you have shared, Mark, absolutely makes sense. And with that understanding that I carry as well, it's interesting to still recognize there's still so much resistance to coaching out there, and also non-awareness of what coaching really is. It's still in the corporate arena. So it's quite interesting how, and of course there are many coaches that are perhaps finding it difficult to gain work, yet there seems to me this huge opportunity to support leaders to be aware of what coaching is and how to incorporate that as an everyday leadership skill set. So as I say that, I'm wondering what's coming up for you. I'm noticing you.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's this incredible conflict, Janine, because on the one hand, we continually hear that coaching is one of the fastest growing industries globally. And yet you're right, some coaches are still challenging, and good coaches, often quality coaches, are often not getting a lot of work, often because of, as you rightly said, the misconception of what coaching is about. And that's why I think as a coaching community, we really have to continue to step up and sell the message, because I, like you, find that a lot of the thinking about or perception about what coaching is inaccurate. Many people, even in the corporate sector, still confuse coaching and consulting. As we know, both are important, but both very different skill sets. And the other thing I've noticed is people's understanding of coaching can be about 30 years old. They still think coaching is just about helping people set goals. And as we know, as the coaching industry has developed over the last 30 years or so, coaching has really become deeper, more transformational, and as well-trained coaches have incredible skills to really dig deep and bring about change. And we have to find ways of really getting the message out. And as those of us, our listeners here and others, I think we've got to really have our pitch right. So in everyday conversations, I've got my 30-second pitch and my 1-minute pitch, and that what coaching is and isn't, and to help really bring people's awareness. But the other thing we need to do is for our clients, as we know, our clients, our coachees, they're still our best marketing tool, aren't they? So to really encourage them to share the news, I encourage coaches, hey, make sure you get testimonials. And if they're on LinkedIn, request a recommendation on LinkedIn. And this is a little bit of a side, but for our listeners here who may be really thinking of different ways to market themselves, never underestimate the power of LinkedIn. If you're not a social media person, if you're not someone who wants to be on Instagram and Facebook all the time, even by keeping your LinkedIn profile up to date, posting regularly on LinkedIn, getting recommendations from clients. I don't know about you, Janine, but I've got some really high quality clients purely through LinkedIn.
That's brilliant.
That was a bit of a side from your initial question. I got a bit sidetracked there.
It's linked.
It is.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and it's something that I somewhat do, but perhaps I need to do a little bit more diligently. And I'm guessing because I haven't got much space to do it, it's like in terms of the work that comes through and what I'm engaged with, and but that again is great to hear for those coaches who are potentially struggling to get clients, because again I think there's an amazing opportunity, but at the moment the message or the messages aren't landing quite strongly as yet. So I went to a meeting last week with an organization who wants to bring in coaching and train their leaders in coaching skills. It's a large global organization, but they've never done any of this kind of work before. And the people that joined the call were all were under the assumption that coaching is like mentoring. And the other thing I was hearing was, budget. So that's often a story that organizations have, we potentially don't have the budget for this, for such an important, again, skill set that can actually support the organization to perform and be highly effective and engage people into the organization, through the organization, etc. So, yeah.
Yes, there's a mindset shift that really needs to happen there, because if the mindset is that coaching is a luxury and it is fat that has to be trimmed when the budget is tight, that is unfortunate, because as we know, organizations and it doesn't matter whether they're corporate, government, non-for-profit, small business, and I've served clients in all of those, I find they see the value. Those who have really good experiences with coaches, experienced, well-trained coaches who really understand what coaching is, they don't see it as one of those luxury items, but integral to the growth of their business. But not only the growth of their business, the growth of them personally. I have just if I can share an example, a client who works in the small business, and he reached out to me about 6 years ago for coaching and is still a client. And he was operating in a small business that was expanding in a regional area. We'd never met face-to-face. He lives about 2,000 kilometres away from me, but was expanding his business into other areas. And so he really wanted help him to go to a new level of leadership. And that is what he reached out for coaching for. And as I said, 6 years later, we're still coaching. But after a year of coaching, he said to me, Mark, if my wife ever met you on the street, she would give you a huge hug. And I said, okay, tell me more. He says, because coaching saved our marriage. We were here to talk about my business, but the things you unearthed about the things in me that were getting in the way of me expanding my leadership and business, they were happening in my personal life as well. And this was a lovely man with kids he adored, and obviously, and now 5 years later, they're still strong marriage and that. So I still get goosebumps when I think about that and other stories like that. And so what I want to say, as you can hear, I'm just so passionate about coaching because we can't separate our personal and professional lives. They're integrated together. And so we have great capacity of coaches to pay it forward. We can never underestimate the ripple effect of our coaching that spills forward. If only organizations would realize that, because coaching that goes well with well-trained coaches, their employees, their leaders are more focused in their work, but they end up more fulfilled, and that does spill over into their personal lives, which means they're happier at work, more productive at work, and the organization wins. That's the message we need to get out. It's not just some luxury item. It actually can be integral to the growth of the organization, and organizations that get that will budget for it. Yes, coaching is not cheap, and neither should it be, because we invest a lot of resources, money and time into our training, but the benefits for the organization can be amazing.
Yeah, beautifully said, Mark. And it is just that wonderful win ecological outcome that, is good for the person, is good for the organization, is good for the family, is good for hopefully the community, the end Mother Earth, when we support people in this way. And it's not only our clients that, this is what I'm hearing from you, it's not only our clients and the system that they're in, but it also impacts our system, because it's such a beautiful, powerful, effective way of working and connecting to purpose for ourselves, supporting our clients to connect to their purpose, supporting them to connect to the organization's purpose, etc., etc. So it's felt very excited as you were sharing that, Mark.
Oh, and you mentioned the word purpose. I don't know about you, Janine, but a lot of my work with leaders is coaching conversations that help them get greater conscious awareness of their purpose, and if what they're doing now is aligned to their purpose or not. That is such one great example of where coaching can be so effective. Because when people really do get greater conscious awareness of that purpose in life that defines, drives, and inspires them, and then what is aligned, what they're doing, is it aligned to my purpose or not, that can make such a difference in personal lives and professional lives. And I still get great joy out of seeing people, get greater awareness of that purpose that inspires them. And what you said before not only affects our relationships, but our communities, because that's one of the ripple effects when people, most people, this is my sense anyway, that the vast majority of people do have a genuine desire to commit to something that's greater themselves. They do enjoy and fulfillment in making a difference in this world where they can control. We can look at the news every night and feel negative and overwhelmed and that. But when we focus on what is in our orbit, what is in our control, and think, hey, what can I do to pay this forward where I am? There's great joy that comes from that.
There is, isn't there? It's very energizing, and of course, it's the purpose and the values aligning with both of those. Again, just brings so much energy, focus, drive, and hopefully, because of all of that, outcomes that are wanted.
Absolutely. And I think that's the great thing about coaching, where coaching is right. Obviously, coaching's not right for everyone. There's a place for counselling and psychotherapy where there is really where people are stuck in trauma and hurts from the past. But this is a bit of a side, but again, this is, Janine, you probably find the same. This is another often misunderstanding of coaching, that anything that if you've got, people who may have really taken some hits in life and lost their confidence, their self-esteem has taken a hit, automatically assume that's a place for therapy. And we say, coaching can be very, very powerful in moving people forward. If people are stuck in an old narrative and can't get unstuck, that's where it's a skill outside of coaching. But if people are able to move forward, get new awareness of what can change in their thinking and not be stuck in old patterns that cause that hurt and pain, coaching can be really powerful. And it was really interesting that a few years ago, I come across an article in Psychology Today by, an academic therapist in the United States who was advocating for coaching post-COVID. And this was great coming from a therapist, not a coach, who had the view that for well-trained coaches, that coaching could be as equally as effective, if not more, than therapy for mild, moderate mental health issues where the client was able to move forward. So again, this is one of the other changes as coaching is developed. That line between coaching and therapy is not as defined as it once was. As long as we stay in our lane as coaches, recognize we're not therapists, we can really beautifully see people move forward out of unresourceful thinkings and patterns that may be causing stress and anxiety. So you do not I just say we cannot underestimate the power of coaching when we're really focused on coaching the whole person, or as Marcia Reynolds says, coach the person, not the problem. That can be so powerful. And when coaching is appropriate, gets results so much more quickly. How did I get onto that? Yes, it was outcome. Sorry, I got sidetracked. You're talking about it's outcome focused. That's one of the defining features, as we know, as coaching, getting clear on what the client wants to accomplish and moving towards that. And so if someone is stuck in unresourceful patterns, that beautiful question, what would you like it to be like? If you were dreaming, what would it be like? And then, a beautiful explanation. So what might need to change in you to move from where you are now to where you'd like to be? What might need to change in your thinking about that when we hear unresourceful thinking? What might need to change in how you manage your state around that? And helping people move out of overwhelm and realize they're not imprisoned by beliefs that may have come around, that they might have taken as true. I don't know about you, Janine, I love throwing doubt on people's beliefs. When I hear faulty beliefs, unresourceful thinking, I just love challenging that and helping people dream again and create beliefs that will support them. And isn't it interesting when they come up with more resourceful beliefs? So we ask, so what is the evidence that you're doing that already? Is it amazing how people can suddenly realize, well, hey, hang on a minute, there's many things in my life that do align with what I want to believe and what I want to change. But we've just filtered it out because of that unresourceful thinking. I love seeing people move into those more resourceful states and places.
Yeah, I can hear your passion for the coaching and supporting people to, again, create new perspectives, new awareness, and therefore create and decide upon new ways forward, new experiences, and in terms of what they do really want. And I really appreciate you bringing that into our podcast today, Mark, and sharing some example questions for our listeners as well, for our leaders who potentially want to embark on these ways of listening deeply and asking questions that support people to reflect, and based on that reflection, decide what they want to be, do, and have going forward. So, a new reality.
Yeah, Janine, it's been a delight to share with your listeners in the Empower World community, and I just want to say, look, thank you to you for getting the message out. We share the love and passion for coaching and a heart's desire to make a difference, and just to really your initiative to create these podcasts to get the message out. I love these conversations, and as we encourage others to have these conversations, that's part of what will really help elevate the power and credibility and effectiveness of coaching.
Yes, that's our mission and vision, to really get that message out, Mark, to support the profession of coaches and for people, leaders, to understand and appreciate what it is and potentially get involved in whatever shape or form. So thank you so much, Mark, for being our special guest today. We both, Marie and I, appreciate your time and energy and again, sharing your passion and your experiences and thoughts and ideas. So thank you for being that wonderful guest. And I'll just check in to see if there's anything else you would like to share, Mark, before we sign out.
I think that sounds like a great place to pause it, Janine, and thank you again. It's been a delight.
Thank you very much. And listeners, we'd love to hear your feedback. Please let us know what you liked, what you'd like to hear more of, what you'd like us to do differently. We'd love to hear. And we hope you can join us for the next podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening. You can find out more about us on our website, www.empower-world.com, and on our social media networks, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Be empowered.